So this tutorial is on the Holly bag by Sallie Tomato, and it is this cute slouchy hobo bag. It is designed for beginners, so if you are a beginner, this would be something that you could do. Now it does say there's a free video tutorial included, but it is actually not on there. You can go to Sallie Tomato and get a pay for a full tutorial for this. But if you are going to make it, there's everything you need. For the contrast, you can do that in cork fabric, you can do that in faux leather, or any fabric that doesn't fray. So exterior, I did a cotton, the lining, I did a cotton, and then for the contrast, I chose a faux leather. So when you open the pattern, you will want to make copies of the template. So I made about 3 copies of the front and 3 copies of the bag. And then I cut them where needed. See, this will say cut blue dash line, green dotted line. And so I cut and then I marked how many I need for each one. So I made a single pattern for each of the pieces that I will need. So there's that one, there's the circle one, and then there's this one. All right, now I would say before you begin cutting out your pattern pieces here on your material, look at the first page of the instructions and cut out the extra pieces that aren't cut from here, especially for some of the length on some of them. You'll want to cut those first, and then once those are cut out, then you'll want to cut these. They also come with these nice tabs here that you can cut out and then clip to your pieces so you know what is what. So there's my adjustable strap, my zipper pocket. So those are quite handy as well, so it can keep everything in order. I did a faux leather, so I'm using this brown. And then I've got this for my lining and I've got this for my exterior. If you are using a cotton for your exterior, you will either want to line it with fusible fleece or some type of other lining, fusible lining to it to give it an extra stabilization. Other things you can get, I went to a quilt store and I wasn't able to get the kit, but you can go online to Sallie Tomato, or some quilt shops will carry the hardware set that you need. So I just bought each of the hardware pieces that I needed individually. My magnetic snap, I found these at Hobby Lobby because the quilt store was out of the size I needed and I wanted antique. This is optional. These go on the bottom of the bag. Yeah, I don't know, you can see right. Oh, it's gonna go. Oh, you can see right there. They go on the bottom of the bag, just so that your bag isn't rubbing when you set it down too much. And then my rectangular ones. So I got these all on sale. The quilt shops are having sale for the new year. But anyway, I've got everything ready to go, and I am going to get started putting this together. It looks like it'll be a super cute bag when it's all done. So the first step is to take your exterior, and then this is the accent piece. And this is why you don't want anything that frays, because this is going to be open. So I matched it up to the bottom of the bag, and on the outside I put clips. And then on the inside, it's recommended to put like a spray based, or I'm using this glue based. I just put a little glue along the edges here to help hold it in place. And then I'm going to take it over to the iron, and on this side where my fusible fleece is, just give it a little bit of heat to help dry it. And then I'm going to top stitch about 1/8 of an inch all the way around the whole perimeter of both sides. So just wanted to show you what it looked like afterwards. There's the stitching all the way around, and there's the second piece. So now we're going to move on and install the magnetic snap. So I chose to get the prong magnetic snap instead of an invisible magnetic snap. So basically you just have to find the center of your circle, and then I just take these, and with the prongs I press in really hard and they create little divots, and then I mark those, and then I take my seam ripper and seam rip those open. And then they suggest putting a little bit of what do you call this, interfacing there, and then I ripped through that, and then I put the prong through it, and I put this piece through it, and then opened the prongs, and then I did it to this side. I hope that is self-explanatory there. But anyway, just be really gentle when you're ripping. You don't want to rip too far. I rip a little bit where I make the indentations with these prongs when they're straight, and I'm pressing them into the fabric. And then if I need to open a little more, I just put my seam ripper in and just open the tiniest bit amount more until they fit through. And then when I ironed this on, I was able to see my already cut insert, so I just put my seam ripper through from the front and then just cut through my interfacing to insert those all the way through. But anyway, this just helps from your prongs rubbing against your fabric too much. So I think I'm going to install these now, it looks like, on the bag. So you're going to take your lining piece. This is my lining, and I just folded it from side to side, and then I gave it a good finger press to find the middle of my lining. And then I measured from the top down about 3/4 of an inch, and I made a mark there. This is with my Pilot friction pens because they erase with heat. So no worries there. Did not draw on it with regular pen. And then you just take your piece, and I'm going to center it there. And then I'm going to top stitch about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. And then I will do the same with this to my other lining. I'll find the middle, measure 3/4 of an inch down from the middle, place it, and then do my top stitching. Okay. So that's how they turned out. I'm not the best with these circle things. I tried using a zipper foot, and that wasn't working very well. So I switched to my 1/4 inch foot, and that seemed to work a little bit better. But anyway, they're attached. Moving on. Whoops, I think I just moved my 2 pieces that I need. All right, so now we have this lining slip pocket that we cut out, and we're going to put right sides together here. So pretty side to pretty side, and then we're going to top stitch them together along the top straight edge with a 1/4 of an inch seam. Then it said to open that seam up and press it flat, so that's what I did. And then we're going to fold it so right sides are together, and I'm going to make sure everything lines up nicely, and then I'm going to press that nice and flat again. Now that it's pressed flat, we're going to come back up to the top and do a 1/4 of an inch top stitch at the top there. Next part is to take one of these lining main panels, and it doesn't matter which one, just choose one. And you're going to put the pocket on top of that and align all your raw edges. And then you're going to top stitch or baste it down, you know, this 1/8 inch all the way around. And if you want to, I did fold it in half and give a good finger press so I could get a middle line. This is optional. You don't have to. You can have one long, big open pocket, or if you want to divide it into 2 smaller compartments, you can find the middle and stitch down, or you can make this line wherever you want, have a smaller and a larger pocket. You can divide this into 3 pockets. It's up to you, whatever you want to do. All right. But after, I always like to draw my, stitch my pocket lines down first and then do around, or you can baste around and then do your pockets. Whatever you would like. You've got lots of options here. Right, so there's that done. I decided to go with 2 equal pockets, and there's my pockets, and everything is basted down nicely. All right, so next we're going to install the zipper pocket. So you have 2 zipper pocket pieces, and you're going to find the bottom. Doesn't matter which side is the bottom. And then you're going to iron it up a 1/2 inch from front to back, so the wrong side. So that's the first step. You're going to do it to both pieces. Now you're just going to take one, and we're going to do some measuring on this. So on one of the pockets, measured down, measured in both sides, measured the width of the zipper opening, and then created my length. The pattern has really good steps, really good pictures, and then created my triangles inside, and then created my cut line. These are going to be the cut lines, and this is where the zipper is going to go. So after you follow all of those steps, pattern does a great job of outlining everything and giving you dimensions and everything. You're going to take the other lining piece, This one has that pocket we already inserted. So this one is the one that doesn't have it, okay? You're gonna find the center line, and basically I folded this in half too to find the center of the pocket, and you're gonna start following the directions to inserting this zipper pocket. So we're gonna put right sides together, and then we're gonna keep going. So I've got mine pinned down, and first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew along the rectangular perimeter of my zipper box. Alright, so now that you've got it stitched out, you can do this with scissors very carefully, or I have this small rotary cutter that I got. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to cut on this middle line, and then you're going to want to cut from here up and from here diagonally down. Do not cut the stitching that you just did, and the same on these sides, okay? And that's going to open up the middle to be able to pull this piece through, and then we'll insert our zipper. Right, and that's what it looked like. I used the rotary cutter to cut the middle line, and then I used my scissors to cut these lines since I didn't want to get into my stitching. So that's what it should look like on both sides. All right, moving on. So for this next part, you're going to pull all of this through this opening. It's just going to go all the way through to the back, and then once you have it all pulled through, you're going to make sure everything is nice and square on the front and everything is pulled through, and then you're going to give it a nice press so everything lays flat. Yeah, just get all that. There should be no wrong side showing on the front. So I'll finish this and then I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so that's what it should look like from the front. You don't really want any of that showing. And then this is what it looks like from the back. Okay, that's the bottom. You can pull this and use some steam there to loosen that up to get all those. I didn't do quite the best job on this side. I have to take it back to get any of those wrinkles out there, but there you go, front and back. Keep going. So here's my zipper. And I am going to want to place it like this. So this is the back. It's going to want to go like this. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take my basting glue, and I am going to put some basting glue all the way around, and then set my zipper in to help hold everything in place. You are going to want to turn it to the front and make sure that it is centered the way that you want it as well. If you do it just from the back and you let the glue set, it might get a little off. But once you have it and your glue is dry, or whatever you've used is dry, whether it's like basting tape or something else, then you're going to top stitch all the way around, about 1/8 of an inch all the way around, and a zipper foot will help you get close to the edge. You may use whatever foot you want, but a zipper foot is recommended. So I'm going to do that now. All right, so what I did was I took the second zipper pocket piece and I laid it so it's right sides together. So the bottom one is the one we just finished, and this top one is the second piece. And I've clipped the sides together. I did clip the bottom together. We're not going to be sewing that, but we are going to be sewing the top and the sides. So when you sew this, you're going to want to move the lining out of the way. And then you'll do the top first. And then when you're done with that, you're going to want to move the lining out of the way when you sew the sides closed on both sides. So you'll do one side first, and then you'll come over to the other side, move that lining out of the way, and then sew that side. All right, and the pattern tells you it's 1/4 of an inch seam allowance there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Do not sew the bottom. I put my 1/4 inch foot on, and then I'm sewing it this way, so that way I can make sure, because if this was flipped, it would be hard to see the lining if it was caught or not. So I'm sewing it from this way to make sure the lining is absolutely not caught when I'm sewing my zipper pieces together. All right, so there it is. It is sewn all the sides, not the bottom, because this is where you're going to turn your purse inside out once everything is sewn together. And so once that's done, the pattern recommends to give this a good press so that any wrinkles or creases are out, and to move your zipper all the way over. So that's what it will look like. All right. Because they don't want you to forget it later when you're stitching everything together that this wasn't open, because if your zipper is not open, you will not be able to pull out. It'll be a little harder to get that zipper open once everything's stitched together. So just go ahead and pull that zipper open for later so you won't forget in a later step. All right, moving on to attaching the gussets. All right, so now we have our 2 exterior gusset pieces, which mine is in the faux leather. And we're going to put right sides together, and I'm going to stitch 1/2 inch seam allowance on these ones, short sides together. And then I'm going to press those seam open and flat, and then top stitch them down, sorry. All right, we'll get to that and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so with the 2 gussets sewed together and these top stitched down, this is the seam. So it looks like from the other side. It's time to install, if you want to, these, what do you call them? Purse feet. Sorry, I don't know why that was so hard to come up with. So I followed, mostly, I made a mistake there, and then I had to look at the picture and realized you're measuring from the seam out, not from here out. So I measured down on both sides and up, however you want to do it, and then from the seam out. And then when they intersect, that is where my purse feet are going to go. Now this is optional, you don't have to do it. They look like this, and they've got one of those. So I have this tool that helps punch holes into fabric. All right, and it is by that company. And it comes with different tools that are stored up here, but I'm just going to use the smallest size. And I just line it up, and then I press down, and it will cut a hole right through that. So it'll make putting these in really easy. So there's all my holes really quick. And then you take a purse foot and you insert it from the right side through the wrong side. And then you put one of those washers. I've never used the middle hole before. This is my first time. I always use these outside ones, but you just put that through, and then you're gonna take the prongs and then push them outwards. And then I'm gonna install all the rest of them. All right. Now, if you don't have a tool like this that will cut holes, punch holes through your fabric, no problem. You can use your seam ripper. This is just a specialty tool that I happen to have that I got after I was frustrated using the seam ripper. But make sure they're snug. That's what they'll look like from the other side. And this is on the bottom of your purse, so when you set it down, it'll help from what you're setting it down being rubbing against this, whatever you have, cork, faux leather, or any other material. All right, those are installed. On to the next steps. All right, so it looks like we're going to be tapering both of the ends of this gusset. So I measured in according to the pattern on both sides, and I made a little mark there. And then I measured down according to the pattern, and I made a mark there. And then I connected those 2 points with my ruler. So for this one, I just lined up that mark with that mark, and then I drew the line to connect, and then I just did it to the other side, lined up the mark, and then drew. And I did that to both ends there. And it looks like we're going to be cutting on those lines to create tapered ends. So now I'm going to take my rotary cutter and just cut on those lines. You can use scissors too. And I'm going to do it to that side as well. And that is what it looks like now, all the way to that side. All right, I am on page 3, and I am on step 6 under the attaching the gussets part. So I'll move on to that step. So now you're gonna pretty much repeat the same thing with your lining, and your lining gusset, and this is gonna be one long piece. Mine isn't, because I didn't cut this before I cut my template pieces out, so I had to do a little bit of piecing together there to get the right. So that's why I said at the beginning, cut your pattern pieces out before you cut your template pieces out, so you can get the right length for this. But anyway, there is a minor difference from how much you measure from here in, so pay attention to step 5 with the gussets. But anyway, I've measured in on both sides, and then I measured down on both sides, and now I'm going to trim that up to create the tapered effect. All right, so now you're going to take one of your main pieces that we started with at the beginning, and you're going to take your exterior gusset, and you are going to, I clipped a little bit here, and then I came over here and I clipped a little bit here, You don't want to use pins on this because you don't want to perforate or poke holes in your fabric here, unless you use cotton. But if you're like cork or faux leather, you don't want a lot of holes in this. Anyway, mine lined up pretty well, and this was pretty easy to manage with especially the corners. So now that everything is clipped, I am going to sew all the way down and around to the top, making sure I back tack at the beginning and end a 1/4 of an inch. All right, so now with that attached, I took my scissors and I started up here, and I just made little notches. You can't really see them all along down here. And that's just gonna help your fabric kind of relax here, especially on the curved sides, so it's not pulling too much. That's what it looks like there on that side. Looking good, looking good. All right, I'm moving on to page 4. So now this was the side I just attached. This is the other panel, and you're gonna attach it in the same way. So I've lined everything up, I've clipped everything together, and now I'm gonna start sewing all along, and that will finish the exterior of your bag. And then I'm assuming it's gonna be similar for the inside pieces, but we'll get this done first. All right, so that's what it looks like, all attached. And it's gonna be hard to see inside, but it does look pretty. So now, I knew it, we're gonna repeat these steps to attach the lining pieces to the lining gusset. And then you'll have your exterior and your interior. All right, so once you're done, you're gonna turn the lining inside out, and that is what it looks like. Pocket piece, and that one. All right, so I'm on page 4, and I'm going to make an attached strap connector, step 1 now. Okay. All right, so if you've not made something like this before, a lot of straps get made like this, or strap connector pieces. You're going to want to fold your piece, so it's like a hot dog bun style. You're going to fold it up, and you're going to fold it in half, and that's going to give you the center line of your piece. And then you're going to open it, and you're going to take this raw edge and this raw edge and fold it into the center, and you're going to press it. And then after that's pressed, you're going to, and you can do one side at a time if you want. And then you're going to fold it in half again, give that a really good press. Then you're going to take this to the sewing machine, and you're going to top stitch down each long side. All right, and then once you're done with that, you're going to cut this piece exactly in half, and that will give you 2 strap connector pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. All right, so I cut my long piece into 2, then I took my rectangular rings and I slid one into each one, and then I folded it over, and then I measured about a 1/2 inch in and did a sew line there. So I did that to both pieces. Now we're ready to connect these to the bag. All right, so to your exterior piece in the gusset section, you're gonna just kind of put that in the middle, and then you're gonna clip it, and then you're gonna do that to both sides. I got both sides of mine done there. You're gonna take that to the machine, and you're gonna base that down really close to the edge so it stays in place, so you won't need clips anymore to hold it there. Do that to both sides. All right, so now it's time to assemble the bag. So you're going to take the lining, and you're gonna put it inside your exterior piece, and you're putting right sides together, okay? Pretty side to pretty side. So you should be looking at the wrong side of your lining. First thing you need to do is you need to line up your gusset seams. So line those up, line that side up. Once those are lined up, then you're just gonna go around the bag and clip. Now you're gonna put this into the machine and sew a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance all the way around. This is why we didn't sew that pocket closed, and we left that pocket zipper open so we can turn things inside out. Okay. Once everything is sewn, you're going to go into that pocket piece, and you are going to pull everything out through that pocket. All right, once everything is turned inside out through that pocket, what you're going to do now is you want to sew this pocket closed. So you're going to align everything. You can clip it in place, and then you're going to sew 1/8 of an inch all the way down that zipper pocket to seal it shut. But before you do that, you're going to want to make sure, it would be good just to go around your whole bag. Make sure that these caught really well in your seam. Some, accidents can happen. And I'd rather catch it now than later when you have to rip things apart. And just make sure all your seams are good. All right, everywhere, okay? And then once you've checked everything, make sure everything is aligned, nothing is coming out of the seam, seams look well sewn, then stitch that pocket closed, okay? All right, so the next step before you top stitch is to fold over this. This is the exterior, and it's gonna fold over about a ½ inch inside, and that's all the way around. And I've clipped it as good as I can. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it in the machine like this, and I'm going to stitch what we call stitch in the ditch, and it's just stitching in this seam here. So I'm gonna go slow and do my best to stitch in the ditch all the way around. And then it looks like we're gonna make some straps for this purse. So that is what it looks like on the inside and on the outside. All right, let's make some straps to finish this off. And this is what it looks, oh, there's what the inside. You've got your 2 pockets, you've got your zipper pocket there, and then your snaps. Looks so good. So the strap comes in 3 pieces, and you have to attach it. There's really good directions on page 4 at the very top on the 2nd column of how to attach them. And then when you attach them, and after you trim them to a 1/4 inch, you got to top stitch that seam down. So I did that on both of them. So now I'm gonna work on finishing this. So for the strap, all I did, this is a very thick material, so if you're using cork or anything, it'll be the same, non-frayable. I just folded it in half and then top stitched down both sides. And now we're going to put it in the belt buckle. Just follow step 3. They have really nice diagrams for doing this, and I think you'll be okay. So there is your finished bag. I've got that all done. There's whatever side you want to call it, the bottom. Other side looks exactly the same. You open it up, got the snap, you've got your pockets. I decided to make 2. Got your zipper pocket there. This is really hard to open with one hand. See if I can do it. Sorry about that. Okay, you've got your zipper pocket here. And that, my friends, is, see if I can stand it up pretty nicely. Oh, it's not going to go very nicely. Well, that is the Holly bag, again by Sallie Tomato. Happy sewing, everyone!